And so here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Grenada Matters in Pursuit of Justice, our Royal Grenada Police Force. I'm joined once again by my co-host, Mr. Earl Maitland from the Grenada Empowerment Movement, an advocate for the people of Grenada. Thank you, Earl, once again for joining us on the show. So before I go on to our guest that we have this evening, I want to give an update as to an interview I did earlier on with another Grenadian national stranded in the UK. And I want to say thank you to the people that have come forward to help the young lady. So the young lady now that rang up earlier on, contacted and spoke to the show. Now she's going to get assistance, which is really, really good news. So I urge people out there not to have pride if you're struggling. It's difficult times, a pandemic, it's a world event that's happening, so it's not about having pride. Don't suffer in silence. Come forward to the channel, please. And you can contact us in complete privacy. So if I give you the email address here, info@BWTMONLINE.com. I'll bring that for you. There you go. So contact us there. So if you are a national, a Grenadian national that's in the UK that's struggling, let us know and we'll do what we can to help you. And of course, if you want to go live or even do a pre-recording, we don't have to see your face, to tell us what's going on in your situation, please do. We'd love to hear from you and help you out where we can. So that's some positive news. Also, I want to add some other news. I want to add very quickly, Earl, before I bring you in. Private airline. Let me try and bring that through for you as well. There's a private airline that's thinking of bringing nationals home. Let me bring this up for you so you can see this. I'll do this on the share screen so you can see it. Right. Can you all see that? I hope you can see that. So here's the article. So it's a private airline looking to fill regional travel market void. So LEA has been a dependable go-to Caribbean airline. Inter-Caribbean Airways, connecting entire Caribbean for over 28 years, prepared to take advantage of opportunities as they are presented. In recent days, air travel with the Caribbean region has become a trending topic as countries strive to reopen and consider the format for each reopening takes. But an emerging storyline, and one that's been announced as an impending crisis, is the future of the regional airline carrier Leeward Islands Transport, LEA. For decades, LEA, through all its financial challenges, have been the dependable go-to Caribbean airline. While many may undoubtedly be unable to pinpoint a period in the recent past in which LEA was financially solvent, the troubled carrier always managed to scrape through. With air travel brought to a standstill by the health pandemic, one regional shareholding leader suggested that this might be the latest crisis to tip LEA over the edge into liquidation. Indeed, regional shareholding governments have all come out swinging at the issue of LEA's impending demise or need for resurrection. But with seemingly conflicting messages for the future direction of the airline, there have been talks of rebranding or forming a new entity out of the dissolved LEA in the quickest possible time. Invitations have also been issued to private entities to come aboard to invest in the new initiative. As governments discuss and scramble, and as Caribbean people debate the merits of their hard-earned tax dollars being again poured into another shareholder's government airline, many might fail to consider that air travel in the Caribbean is not a lost cause. Neither is it hinged on LEA. While the carrier might be the household name in regional travel, especially in the Eastern Caribbean, there have been several private entities that have efficiently and effectively served a number of regional markets for decades. Enter Inter-Caribbean Airlines or Airways, a regional airline out of the Turks and Caicos Islands, founded by Lyndon Gardner, who has earned its reputation as a solid, reliable Caribbean carrier. Albeit having mainly served the Northern Caribbean islands for decades, the Inter-Caribbean brand has been a major player in air travel in markets as diverse as Dominican Republic, Haiti, Bahamas, Dominica, Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Barbados, the Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands, Antigua, St. Lucia, Turks and Caicos, Cuba, and a number of other islands. Since the rebranding in 2013, Inter-Caribbean Airways have boasted their services more cities across the Caribbean than any other airline in the region, with its fleet of 4 EMB 145 passenger jets of 50 seats, 10 EMB 120 30-seat passenger regional airliners, 1 twin Otter 19-seat passenger aircraft, and their recently acquired A2 ATR-42. The company is on the verge of expanding its tentacles into new markets, including several in the Eastern Caribbean. In recent months, company founder and chairman Gardner has been in communication with several governments as he looks to the future and embracing the opportunities presented by this pandemic. So basically, without going on and on and on, it looks like private carriers like Inter-Caribbean Airways will be making their full rate, particularly in the Eastern Caribbean, a region once the battleground for elite supremacy. So what it's basically telling us is that there will be help along the way, it seems, by Inter-Caribbean. Inter-Caribbean is going to be the way forward, it looks. So yeah, just a few people in the room. Shout out to Mosquito Man, Christopher St. Paul, and of course, Earl Maitland. So I think I've said my bit for that point now. Earl, over to you.
Right. Pleasant good afternoon to everyone that's here. As we continue our pursuit to justice for persons who have became victims at the hands of public servants, specifically those in the Royal Grenada Police Force. We continue to have these shows every Monday at 6 p.m. where we'll actually give victims and family members of victims an opportunity to speak to the matters at hand. It is very obviously a very necessary thing that needs to be done in order to decrease or eradicate police brutality, abuse of force, and misconduct in the beautiful island of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Too many times we have officers apparently getting away with even murder. And this is something that we should not accept as Grenadian citizens. Even as we look at the laws of Grenada on the books, there is a particular law that says as a citizen of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, we do have an obligation to speak in the interests of public morality. Today we have with us Mr. Shaun Dinnah, who is the son of a gentleman who was on this program last week, Mr. Curtis Thomas, a victim of police brutality, who ventured to many public offices trying to seek some sort of justice. He even went to the courthouse to try to get that justice that we so need. Today we are here and we are going to actually speak about how Shaun feels about this injustice that his father has faced and continues to face. We are also going to have Shaun speak to the fact that he himself has also been a victim of police brutality at the hands of persons in the Royal Grenada Police Force. I do hope that this show will add some encouragement to persons who are pursuing their justice, who would not surrender to the injustices that we face at the hands of those who are being paid to protect and serve. I do hope that the misconception of belief that one cannot win against misconduct or any form of injustice at the hands of police. I do hope that this show would shed some light to it and encourage persons to speak up and to continue pursuing justice. Although we are aware that we have many corrupt individuals in public offices. This would include the Public Service Commission, the Royal Grenada Police Force, even in the government. And as we continue as a united force and a united citizenry front, we will get to the point where justice can be served to each individual. Right. So Ingram, thank you once again for taking time off. I know that it is actually 11 minutes past 11 in England where you are. And this is much appreciated once again to actually have you stay up at this hour and trying to assist Grenadians in whatever way you can by using your platform to give a voice to the victims of police brutality. And this is very necessary because the local media stations are somewhat censored by those in authority. So we are unable to get the voices of the victims across. And it is a blessing to be here and to partake in something like this. Mr. Shaun Dinnah, thank you for being here. We have had some experiences over the years where we went into public offices to report all of these injustices that your father spoke about, and even more. And I want to encourage you to remain strong and to continue on your journey to justice. It is a narrow and sometimes lonely road, but we all do have to walk this road. We have to be the example of citizen that we would like to see. We have to be the beacon of hope to everyone who has been victimized, everyone who believes that there can be no betterment. We have to be the persons that could actually show them that there is betterment and there is support from other persons, right? So Shaun, how are you doing today?
Hey, thanks very much, Ingram. Thanks all. Well, I'm doing great so far, and it's a pleasure to be on the show with you guys. Speaking out about the injustice that has been going on for quite some time. And I really think that it is time somebody actually put a front to go out and get things done and get the words out to the people. So to the people outside there who is undergoing the same problem, I would like for you to come and speak out, share your views, your concerns, and we'll take it from there.
So Shaun, and to the persons that are looking on, the fact that we have so many cases of police misconduct and brutality in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, it is evident and it justifies the reason why every Monday we can have a show just to deal with police brutality alone in Grenada. And it does say a lot about the system in Grenada that we can particularly just focus in that one area every Monday. Shaun, just give us a brief reminder of the unfortunate situation that your father faced in 2013. Now, last week, your father actually said that some officers, some gentlemen who he found out to be officers, actually entered your homes without warrant, without identifying themselves as police officers, came into his home, knocked him unconscious with a firearm, which we probably believe is a government issued firearm. And this was done in front of you, your mom, and your sister. So could you just give us the reminder for those who are not here last week as to what had happened in that unfortunate day in 2013, I believe.
Well, Earl, on the 24th of March 2013, it was just around after 5 o'clock. I think it was there. I was at home and I stepped out in the road for just a few minutes because our house was basically not even a minute walk, on either side of the road. So you can just jump out from the house, make 2 footsteps and jump into the road. While I was standing on the little bridge outside there, I saw this blue van pass me. So, which I already notified that it was the police. So I went back home and I sat on the veranda. While I sitting on the veranda, the van came down and stopped in the gap. In so doing, 2 officers jumped out of the van and proceeded down to the yard. So I was sitting on the veranda, as I said. My dad was sitting on the step sharpening a cocoa knife. He was getting ready to go in the garden to look after his animals and attend to the garden also. And one of them said to him when they came down to the yard, without even identifying themselves or anything, none of them had police uniform or anything. The vehicle that they had was not even marked. It wasn't even marked police. It was just a blue van and blue pickup. And they came down to the yard and one of them said, good day, Mr. Curtis. I would like to have a word with you. That is all he said. And my father said to him, he said, speak, I'm listening. My father sitting on the step doing his thing. But even though he tell you speak, the person wasn't even standing, not even a good, or not even 4 feet away from my father. He was standing not immediately in front of him while he was sitting on the step. So when he said to my father, speak, he told my father that he want to have a word with him. My father tell him, speak, I am listening. He then said to my father, nah, you can't stay distant so to speak to me. So my father said, and he get up from where he was sitting, take up his cutlass and the cocoa knife and was going inside, passed through the kitchen. The police then went up to the veranda, and called out to my father, Curtis, I come to speak to you. So my father tell him, he said, well, I tell you, speak. I'm listening. He said, nah, you can't stay distant so to talk to me. So my father said, well, okay, fine. My father inside of the house, he outside. All of a sudden, I see the man went to the door, pulling the door. So my father turned and he tell him, I tell you to speak. I'm listening. You don't want to say anything. He said, well, don't come inside of my house. Right? At that point, my father still had the cutlass in his hand. So my father went, he put on the cutlass. And while he was there, he asked one of them to take his cell phone for him. He wanted to make a phone call. So he picked up his cell phone and he sat down on a 3-seater mahogany chair inside of the sitting room, right? Where the officer then proceeded up to the main door to enter the house. And he pushed the door. My father then told my sister, she said, close the door for me. The man pushed back the door on my sister, and came inside. So my father then come to the door and he tell him, well, what are you doing? Don't come inside of my place. He then he had a firearm in his hand, which he pulled out when he was approaching the kitchen. So my father turned and he said, oh, so that what all you come to do? All you come to shoot people and kill people in the place for their own rights, And my father leave him. He said, well, anyway, don't come inside of my place. And then when he pushed the door, my father then get up. He don't run inside. He had the firearm in his hand. Take it and started pounding up my father in the face, in the head. After that, about 4 of them, the others jump in. They went inside. One of them had a long baton in his hand, the one that shaped like a gun. Yeah, and they started beating him up. They mashed up the 3-seater chair completely. Nothing could have actually joined it back. My father went unconscious. They then put the handcuff in his hand, drag him in front of the door. While they drag him in front of the door, the one with the firearm and the one with the butu beating him up still. So I said to them, but what is it all you're doing? One of them turned and he said to me, he said, you're obstructing police duty. I said, but that is not right. And then after that they came, one of them was holding me down on the veranda. So I said to him, I said, well, boss, do whatever all you want. I don't have nothing more to say and nothing more to do, Do whatever all you want. After that, they took my father from inside of the house, dragged him outside, hold him like a bunch of fig, take him outside, out of the house, put him down in front of the
Wait for a second. That's your phone ringing there?
It seems to be, yeah.
Yeah, just cut off a second because we can't hear you when the phone is ringing.
Okay, yes, I actually think, yeah. So I said to him, I said, well, but that's not the way to go about and do. That's not the way to go about and do what you guys are doing. So I don't understand this kind of crazy thing. They drag my father, go up to the van, throw him on top of the van after they handcuff him. They handcuff him since inside of the house. Throw him on top of the van like a bunch of fig. Climb onto the van, still beating him up. I stood there and I didn't say anything after that. A police officer who lives right around there, I think she's a corporal or so in the RGPF presently. She called out to them and she said, hey, what is it all you're doing? That is not right. Another gentleman from higher up where we live called out to them. He said the same thing. He said, listen, this is not right. Then the van was leaving. One of the officers on the van turned and he told me, he said, you next. I said, what do you mean me next? I said, I'm not in the mix with this kind of crazy thing. So I immediately got dressed and I went down to the police station. When I reached down in the police station, there was this inspector by the name of Kanat. Kanat tell the officer on the diary, he said, don't let that man come inside of the station. That man come here to create trouble, to create problems. So I said, well, what problem I come to create? I come to see my father. Then he turned and he told me, he said, well, you can't see your father because your father is a prisoner. I said, my father is a prisoner. I said, what is my father in prison for? Anyway, we don't have to discuss that with you. I said, well, you don't have to discuss that with me. I said, but he's my father and I have to seek my father's interest. For what I see happen, actually, I don't see what all this thing had actually, why this had to lead up that way, and then he didn't actually permit me inside of the station. He said, because I come to give trouble, and then I left the station and I went back home, They later sent out the request for the rest of the family. They wanted to arrest the other members in the family, I wasn't scared of it anyway, and I just never bothered. We went, went back to the station that same evening with my mom. We contacted one of the attorneys that was appointed to file the case, and it was
Shaun,
set up.
let me just come in for a second, right? How old were you when that happened?
How old was I? 2013. I was about 17, 18 years old.
About 17 or 18 years old.
Yeah, it's around me.
Imagine being around 18 years old and witnessing such destruction of morality and disrespect and inhumanity meted out to your father. Now, Ingram, if you were in such a position, how would you have felt about members of the Royal Grenada Police Force?
I think, as any person worrying about their family or their friends or their family member, I think my response would have been to react, get involved. The natural reaction to defend your father. You understand? Defend your family. These people are coming in out doing the things that they're doing. You would respond in a manner. The thing that would be holding you back is yourself getting arrested. Do you know what I mean? And they are the law. That's what's going through your mind. They are the law, so they must be right. But it can't be right because they're hurting your dad. Your dad's done nothing wrong. You understand? So the element of confusion would be there, clear anger would be there, and being traumatized from it afterwards. Because every time I walk in the street, I'm thinking to myself, I see a police officer, I'm thinking to myself, is this friend or foe? I'm paying tax money to employ these people, and they're turning around and they're beating up my family members. I mean, how can people, how do you walk the street feeling safe, or even feeling safe in your own household? You know? How is that?
Shaun, how did you feel?
Well, to be honest, trust me, that when I see all these things happen, I started to wonder about it. Because I myself standing there witnessing all these things, trust me, it wasn't easy for me. At some point in time, I thought of retaliating, but before that incident happened, I used to be around the police. So I sit and I studied, and that is a thing they didn't understand. I've been around them years before that incident happened, and from that incident was the last time I've been there. So I know exactly, at that point in time, I knew exactly what to do, what not to do. No matter, no, I'm not disputing the fact that I wasn't in a position where I could have done something, but I wanted to be in a position where I know, yes, my father has been placed in a cell or so, but I myself supposed to be the one having my father's back. Where I thought of it like, you fight him, I use a different method to get back at them, which is to seek legal advice. Take them by legally.
So Shaun, let me ask you, what was your father doing with that cutlass on his private property?
As everybody know, my father has been, before that, my father was a rural constable, was also a policeman here. He had some issues and get off the job, and since that he has been a farmer up to today. So my father is a farmer presently, and around that same time in 2013, he was occupying the same occupation, which is a farmer. He was actually getting ready to go attend to his farms and his animal. So that is one of the reasons why he had the cutlass in his hand.
I understand that. So let me ask you, what advice would you give to persons who witness their family members being brutalized by police officers? Because I mean, just yesterday, although the details are sketchy, we heard of a young gentleman being shot by members of the Royal Grenada Police Force at his home. I witnessed the video. A few videos have been circulating Facebook. And the thing is, after being shot by members of the Royal Grenada Police Force, whether this young man was a suspect or the shot actually happened as a mistake by one of the officers, what I noticed, I couldn't help but notice that the persons that were attending to this young gentleman were not the police officers. They actually sat comfortably and calmly, from what I saw in the video, not even attempting to bandage the wound or to slow the process of bleeding. And I am a bit concerned, and I'm actually happy that you were able to restrain yourself, whether it was because you were afraid or that you were strategic, because you could have been shot. We have had so many cases where persons have lost their lives at the hands of police, and it is unimaginable to think how your mother would have felt knowing that police officers may have shot you if you came to the aid of your father. And they said that they were simply protecting themselves, as they have done in the past against persons who were mentally ill and so on. So I'm glad that you're here. I think you made the right decision. As you said, you restrained yourself despite the injustices that you saw against your father, and you sought legal advice, and you continue to seek legal advice. So what advice, as a victim yourself and as a family member of a victim, would you give to persons who are victims and persons who are family members of victims?
Well, first thing first, there is so much I can say, but to make the story short, for the people that has been victimized by police, I want to give you guys a very, very, very strict piece of information. You see, this is not happening because we made it that way. We didn't made it that way, and we need to get up out of the dungeon that we are in. A lot of us fail to come out and speak. A lot of us hide because we think it's police and it is people that is in authority, or this. You don't need to be afraid of that. When things go wrong, you speak about it. Even if whenever it goes right, you give credit to it. So to the people out there who is facing the same police brutality, don't lose hope on your justice. You just seek your justice and seek it in the right place.
Yeah, because I like to encourage persons to not protest in a violent manner, right? I like to encourage persons to protest in a peaceful way. Try to go through all the right channels. Although in Grenada there's so much corruption that even going through the right channels, sometimes you will not be afforded justice. For instance, I was with you and your father and a number of victims of police brutality who went through the right channels, and they were refused justice in some cases. They were allowed statements to be made, right? Just give me a second, please. 1 second.
So, Shaun, tell me, how do you conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis now, having that history of police brutality? How do you live your life? Do you have any fear of the police coming around doing that again to yourself, potentially your own family members in the future, walking down the street? How is it for you?
I just always say I live my life with no fear, no regrets. But sometimes I do think of it. Anything could happen at any point in time. And I know for a fact, seeing that I actually on the walk for justice for my father, a lot of them they're not happy with it. I have other instances where police antagonize me, and to be honest, I use my own strategy, just not answer them, or sometimes walk out and don't make it an issue, because I realize what they're trying to bring the pressure on me, that they could have me in some position to put a leash, but they're not going to get that kind of opportunity, Ingram. I'm wiser than that.
Shaun, I do know that a female from the Community Relations Department, I believe at the time, there's so many cases of police brutality that I have to deal with. It's a bit hard to stay on track, but I do believe that at the time, the female officer was attached to the Guelph police station. She came to your home, and pictures were taken and documents were made of all the destruction inside of your house that were caused by the two men that came in and knocked your father out and had beaten him mercilessly. I know that you all made a statement as well to the Royal Grenada Police Force. Could you tell us if anything has happened since then, since they took all the pictures and so on? Were you compensated for the damages, the destruction inside the home?
Earl, what I can recall is, I can recall this lady from CRD came to the house, stood outside, You know, I don't recall she going inside and take any photos or anything like that. That I can't remember that. Maybe if it happened, maybe I was not wrong at the time. But what I can tell you is there was a lady that came from CRD, stand up outside, and all she said was, "This is the house and where the van was parked," and you know, this is all I can remember. Nothing ever happened after that. We went to the community relation department. We went to the ombudsman. We went to the commissioner of police. Name them, and nothing ever happened up to this day.
Now, based on one of your father's reports, when I went to the community relations department with him, he said that that female inspector came into the house, took pictures, and nothing has happened. I remember us going to the ombudsman's office, and I would like you to just inform the people. I know that there was one point in time where I personally had to drive up from St. George to the Guelph police station just to get your father to be able to give a statement against some police officers who were very unjust against him. Although it is a right, sorry, to give a statement at any police station, your father was refused. And I had to leave St. George and drive all the way up to Guelph just to ensure that he was given that right. He was able to exercise that right. There was a time, I believe it was probably last year, Shaun, that we went to the ombudsman's office and they said on their journey to the Guelph police station, they were told by the commissioner's office and by the persons in charge of the St. George, the Guelph police station, that there were no reports from your father. Could you just, inform the people of that situation, what had happened in the office?
Well, they they did. We had made a request, along with you all, yes, from the ombudsman office, who had actually the commissioner had asked for some files from the Western Division, the Guelph police station, concerning reports that my father has been making, concerning his property and his victimization by the police and so on and so forth. At some point, they had said to him, they had sent back the report stating that my father never gave any report. They never had any report given by my father or taken a statement from my father concerning anything of that sort, which we know wasn't true. Up to today, we still have some of the reports after they did, we had a superintendent did, and as such, the commissioner of police, one of the acting commissioners called him, and give him the information and ask him personally to do that research for him, and to give us we also had made application to get a copy, so we did get a copy of some of the reports that my father has been making, even though they claim my father wasn't making any reports. We do have copies of the reports that my father did made at the Gulf Police Station.
You see, the thing is, I feel very disturbed by the fact that your family has copies, have been issued copies of reports that were made to the Royal Grenada Police Force. But on inquiry, the ombudsman was given an official letter from the Royal Grenada Police Force stating that there are no reports that Mr. Curtis Thomas has or Shaun Dinnah has at the Royal Grenada Police Force. So I am a bit disturbed, this is what is happening. Shaun, now the thing is, you have been around the members of the Royal Grenada Police Force for a significant period. I understand that you have been assisting at the Guelph Police Station. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did used to do my little things there at the Gulf Police Station. Yes. Yeah.
So the question is, Shaun, Now, in all your time there, now the police officers who came into your father's home without a warrant, without any reason to be there, who knocked him unconscious, who um, assaulted him continuously. Um, Based on what you know from your interactions with the police force, is this something that should be done? Is this how police officers are supposed to approach civilians without identifying themselves and pulling up in the yard with unmarked vehicles and so on? Is this how it is supposed to be done?
No, no, this is not the protocol of the RGPF. Everything has protocols. You as a policeman, you want to go to somebody's property, even though you go with a company, you identify yourself as a police officer along with your other partner. You can't just go to somebody and just because you would actually be looking just like a civilian. It's not everybody that knows police, unless you see them in a uniform or so. There are some of them that wear clothes, civilian clothes, just like me and you. And yeah, you may know them because some of them might be living in your neighborhood or so on and so on. You maybe have encountered little issues with them before or prior, but this is not how these things work. You identify yourself as a police, even though you want somebody to accompany you to the station. You say, hello, my name is Constable, whatever. I'm presently attached to the Sotes police station. I'm here in connection with so and so offense or whatever that has been committed. I would like for you to accompany me to the police station, for questioning or whatever the case may be. You don't just walk to somebody without identifying yourself and just do whatever you want.
So basically, in my humble opinion, this is just a recipe for disaster. Having officers refusing to identify themselves. That means, Ingram, that I can just walk up to any person and just um, arrest them or beat them or take a weapon and knock them out in front of their family members, right? We need our police officers to be more professional in the way that they carry themselves. We need our police to honor the laws that they have been hired to execute in their lines of duty. Um, we have been very vocal about having police officers with body cameras and having cameras at the police stations. And we will continue to do so. We believe that the footages of these cameras should be made public, and only then it will be able to decrease the amount of cases that we have. Ingram, I see you want to come in here.
Shaun, question. Did you get a good look at the police officers' faces, and did you know who they were that was attacking your father at the time?
Well, Ingram, at the point in time before the incident, myself and all of them was at the same station, was involved. So I knew all of them. I knew the face. I knew most of them badge number. I may not know them the first name, but I can tell you all of them last name, because you would actually refer to them by their last name, or you would address them by their last name at the
That's an island.
So I know all of them.
So Sean, now stating that you knew all of them, does that mean that your father would have known all of them as well?
No. My father would not have known them because some of them was, well, should I say, they was young in the force. There wasn't members that he had worked with or anything like that. Because as I said, he was a real constable before, and he has worked with some of them. But on that particular day, I don't think he had knowledge of any one of them. He didn't know any one of them.
Okay. How old is your father though?
My father would, I think my father should be in his 60s now. I can't give you a direct figure on the actual.
So yeah, I know that he moved on from the force a very long time, and You know, it pains me and many persons to have to listen to these ongoing testimonies of police brutality day after week, month after month. I do know that Inspector was that name at CRD again? That gentleman, he was very professional. He was a good officer. Unfortunately, we don't have as many good officers in the Royal Grenada Police Force. That gentleman that sent Corporal Dupree to your home, what is it, Sean? I forgot.
Uh,
Um, but did Corporal Dupree ever show up to your home? I know he instructed Corporal Dupree attached to the Gulf Police Station to come to your home to deal with a matter that was reported by your father. Did Corporal Dupree ever show up?
not to my knowing. I'd never encountered him coming to the house. I don't think he had ever came, even though they had instructed him to. He may have passed in the road a couple times dealing with reports, but to come home to deal with the issue, no.
When you say passing the road dealing with reports, are these reports that your father would have made or is a
No, no, no,
separate?
no. Other reports. As I could recall, there was a little land dispute between my father, myself, and the neighbor. Um, I think that was the only time he actually came on that land, if I should say, and that was sometime last year, I think it was. But concerning that very said instruction that they had given to him, I think he had failed to do his duties as a police officer.
Now, Sean, I remember your father, and I personally go into the community relations department with video footage of one of your neighbors, attacking you and your father with a cutlass, using a lot of obscenities and threatening language. Were you and your father, was that case ever investigated? Was that person ever charged? Even though you had provided video footage of the person with the cutlass threatening you to take your life.
Yes, it happened pretty well, far off, or after that incident, we gave the report to the police. Um, the guy was charged. Yes, the case. I think that case is still ongoing. It has not been completed as yet. That case is still ongoing.
The case is still ongoing. So how are relations now with you and the members of the Royal Grenada Police Force?
Well, since after the 2013 incident with my father, the relationship between me and them has gone very bitter. Because I had stood up for my father after I have seen what they had done to him. Went to two lawyers to do a cross charge, a civil lawsuit actually. They didn't like that, you know, giving my father the foolproof information that I would have been on his back, to help him fight that case. I would have been his key witness. And for that reason, I believe they has taken a toll on me because they're trying to lock me out of it so that it doesn't come out, And there is an incident that took place after that lead up to that same 2013 incident. So there has been they have not only been using their little strategies, to fulfill their desire, but they're actually using it to try to clip me because shortly after that incident with my father in 2013, it was Carnival Monday morning. I went to meet my sisters up at Sotiers, in what we call Juve, Monday morning Juve. I rode a bus from Guelph to Sotiers, drop out at the terminal, the bus terminal at Sotiers. And while I'm standing there for maybe roughly about half an hour, I heard they said police shoot a man, I said to them, I said, but police shooter man, we just reach here, well, Juve stop. You know, so I run up, me and my other colleagues, my friends that went to the Juve, we went up to the police, but on the other side of the police station, we were standing there where I met my sister and, you know, the rest of the family members. And while I'm standing there, I had a Guinness in my hand. I felt the Guinness fly out of my hand. I had a cap on my head. I felt it, they hauled it out, you know. And the person tell me, hey, let me go in the station. So I said, let me go in the station. What do you mean? He said, come, my officer, they say you want to bring you in. Man, I said, boss, I don't go in the station because I haven't done anything. He said, what are you watching? I go use force against you. I said, well, okay. Let me go to the station. I went to the station. When I reached inside of the station, they asked me to give them my information, which is protocol in a police station. If somebody needs to go into the station, they would ask you for your name, your age, your occupation, your date of birth, whatever the case may be. They took all the information from me, and when I'm finished, you know, they asked one of the officers to handcuff me to a chair. So I said to them, I said, but no, handcuff me to a chair. I said, but I haven't done anything. So if you're not going to tell me what I have done, then no, you can't handcuff me to the chair. Well, eventually I did sit down and I allowed them to handcuff me because I know personally I haven't done anything wrong. You know, while I'm standing there, an inspector came out and he asked me, he said, who you shoot? I said, wait, what are you talking about? He said, who you shoot, man? I said, want me to shoot nobody? Who you chap? I said, chap. I said, nah, man, I find you something crazy. He said, yeah. Well, anyway, sit down there. Well, I sat there. I haven't said anything to them. Maybe about 20, 25 minutes later, I asked them, I said, listen, I didn't come here for that. And I need to know what's going on because I haven't done anything. You all see me on the side of the road, pull me inside of a station and cuff me to a chair and asking me some kind of stupid question about who I shoot and this kind of crazy thing. I say, listen, I haven't done anybody anything. You know, later on the evening, they bring me down to Victoria Station. You know, they say for safekeeping. My parents came to visit me that same Monday morning, that same Monday evening. Didn't get to see me. You know, they keep making my mother and my father like two lunatics running up and down in station, from station to station. They go to Sotes telling them they're in Victoria. When they reach in Victoria, they had to go back up to Sotes telling them Victoria say you had to apply to Sotes for them to see me. Oh, it was a set of stupidness. You know, and I was inside of the cell day, you know, Monday pass, Tuesday pass, you know. Wednesday evening, roughly about after 5, I saw two fellas come in plain clothes. One which I know when I used to gym up on the foot, they call him Dunbar. I don't know the other one. I didn't know the other one. And Dunbar said, hey, Dinah, you they trying to do that? I say, what happened? He said, no, I come to take a statement from you, man. He tell the other officer, he said, take a statement from the man. After he finished take the statement, he tell me, he say, well, what you do? Put him back in the cell? He said, no. Leave him to go at his home. I take all my credentials, take all what I had in the station. And I went home, you know, without a charge. Just locked me up because police did a shooting on that very said Monday. And I don't know what their problem was.
So Shaun, I'm gonna ask you. You were standing on the side of the road. You heard about a shooting. Like many Grenadians, you hear about a shooting or a chopping or an accident. You go to the scene to find out exactly what it is that happening. As I said, like many Grenadians, you want to see what is going on. You were standing on the side of the road. They single-handedly picked you out of a crowd of persons because they said it was Juve morning, right? So they took you, you had a Guinness, you had a hat on your head, right? They got rid of the Guinness, they took off the hat, they brought you in the station. Before bringing you into the station, right, they give you a reason why you were going into the station. Did they tell you, listen, we detaining you for this or we arresting you for that? Did they?
Or up to now, up to this blessed day, nothing has been said to me. Nothing. all I could recall is when I reach at the station, when I reach inside of Sutton's police station, and I ask what is really going on. One of them replied, "Officer Sylvan said to bring you in," and that was it. Nothing else. When I reached Victoria police station, that when I reached down to Victoria police station, I asked to see that very same officer that goes by Sylvan. And he had failed to show his face at that point in time. Yes, Sylvan was working at Victoria police station, and he had failed to show himself to me so that I would have asked him what really going on, why was I arrested, and why was I detained, or what actually is the problem, But the only thing I recall was they telling me is Officer Sylvan said to bring you in. That was it. Nothing else.
So, Shaun, after giving the statement, when the two plainclothes officers came, Officer Dunbar and the next officer, after giving that statement, since the time, has anything happened after that concerning that particular time that you were taken? And how long were you taken then? Was it just for 2 hours, 3 hours? How long was that detention for?
Well, nothing has not been done. All Dunbar said to him at the end of the report, he asked him to release me. Which yes, I was released around after 5 that evening. But nothing has ever been done. I went to an attorney to plea a case, and to me, based on, because it was of government criteria with government being involved, I guess he didn't really want to take that case, because when he did tell me that I should take action against them, and when I reached into his office, it was a different scenario. So I never really.
Well, we know about these types of lawyers that we have in Grenada. We know about them. But how long were you in the cell for? Was it 1 hour, half an hour, 10 minutes? How long was it? Because you said they brought you from Satiers to go back to Satiers or wherever it was. So how long was that?
Well, it was more than 48 hours, or it was more than 2 days actually, because I was held from since after 10 that Monday morning, and I was released after 5 that Wednesday evening. So calculate the time.
All right. So you were held. So based on what you're saying to me, it sounds as though the police officers are abusing the right to hold persons, to detain persons for 48 hours. If you were not told of what he was suspected for and so on. I mean, an officer, based on what you're saying, came out and asked the question, who did you shoot? And then he said, who did you chop? So he did not specify what crime he actually committed. He didn't say that we believe or we are detaining you because we believe that you chopped someone, or we are holding you because we believe you shot someone. He asked, who was it that you shot? And then he asked, who did you chop? Which means that that detention seems to be a bit not only absurd, but illegal. And based on the laws of Grenada, the Constitution of Grenada, I should say, the supreme law of the land, that no law can trump. It says that if someone is illegally detained, right, that they should be compensated by the person who has illegally detained them, or by the authority on whose behalf the person is acting on to actually do that illegal detention. Now, I have met so many persons in Grenada who have had all sorts of issues with which they brought to the attention of attorneys in Grenada. And they have been turned away when it is a conflict of interest for them, if it's a friend or a government person or whatever the case is. Now, I remember your father, when he stood in court and was accused by a police prosecutor of being a thief, when the prosecutor referred to your father as a thief, and your father does not have any convictions of being a thief, right? So there's the innocent presumption until proven guilty, right? Now, that prosecutor referred to your father as a thief in a court of law, and the lawyer from Ms. Klein's office who represented your father on that day, instead of representing your father well and informing the prosecutor that he was actually defaming your father's character, because your father has not been convicted of stealing anything in the state of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique, the lawyer chose to remain silent. And it is also my understanding that your father, when he spoke up to defend his character, stating that he is not convicted of any crime, he's not a thief, the lawyer actually turned, your father's lawyer, the defense lawyer, actually turned to your father, and this is a lawyer who your father paid to defend him against the police. The lawyer said to your father that if he doesn't shut up, she's going to walk out of the court and leave him right there. So I am aware, Shaun, of these lawyers that we have in Grenada. I am aware of the corruption that continues to hover in the public offices all around us, all the conflicts of interest. And this is what we're trying to get out of Grenada and the public service, where we continue to be paying ridiculous amounts of taxes that are financing these people who engage in corrupt activity consistently, over and over and over. We would really like to use this opportunity, Shaun, to encourage you to continue, right? Continue in your peaceful protests, right? Be that shoulder that your father needs to lean on, because your father has many times gone into many public offices. He has been refused an heir even by the Governor General, who has a legal duty to hear him out. He has been refused by the Commissioner of Police. He has been sent to see the now accused Cletus St. Paul when he sought the legal mandates of the Minister of National Security, right? Shaun, I want to encourage you to continue. And I know that you have done a protest with myself, your father, and some other victims of police brutality and misconduct in Grenada. And I am happy that you continue to do it in the most peaceful way. You try to explore all the legal channels. I am sure one day justice will be served. Although I do know that your father has made complaints even at the CRD, and the gentleman's name that I forgot was Mr. Trevor Rodney, who instructed Officer Dupree to come to your residence and take the statement. So although Inspector Trevor Rodney was in charge of the Community Relations Department and the senior to Corporal Dupree refused the order to come and do his job. So, Shaun, we understand what it is you're going through. There are so many victims in Grenada. I want to encourage you to keep that faith in God. Not all the police officers are as terrible as the persons that you just told us about, and as the many that we know of, right?
We got to call them rogue police officers, not police officers.
Say that again.
I think we have to call them rogue police officers, not police officers.
Okay. Right. I have no choice but to agree with you there. So we want to encourage as many victims to come forward, because these acts of corruption that continue to be committed by individuals who have infiltrated our prestigious office of policing, they need to be brought to justice. Persons need to know exactly what is happening in Grenada, and only then we can stand united and be the change that we would like to see. Shaun, my dear friend, Ingram and I always say, even in the worst situations, there is some good that comes out of it. Shaun and I are good friends. After we have gone through the constant battle of trying to get some justice for him and his father, we are good friends. Shaun is a good young man. In my charity organization, the Grenada Empowerment Movement Incorporated, a charity non-governmental organization, I hosted something on Boxing Day. I believe it was 2 years ago, Shaun, 2018, right? At the Camohon Park, where we were trying to raise funds for persons who needed medical assistance in Grenada. And Shaun Dinnah, who sits here as a victim of police brutality, he actually came from Guelph. He arranged a ride, came from Guelph on a public holiday, Boxing Day, and came to Camohon Park and brought someone else. And they performed for free. They sang carols and all sorts of songs just to entertain the public and try to raise funds for persons who needed medical assistance. And he continues to support the movement. So I know, after knowing Shaun, he does have a good heart. No one is perfect, including myself, but we do try to do the best. But there's an obvious problem when persons are being paid to do a job and they refuse to do so. And we need to get them off of the taxpayers' payroll, because these monies could be spent at the hospitals where we have persons dying daily. It could be put into good use to provide beds for women, mothers, or soon to be mothers who have to lie down on tables while giving birth. It could be put into good use to provide salaries for good officers and nurses and so on. As I said, we do not have a police force where the entire employee population is actually rogue. So we are hopeful that the good police officers, including those who I look up to, will actually bring those rogue individuals to justice and lock them up and treat them the same way that they would treat any petty criminal that comes off of the street, right? So thank you everyone for being here to show some appreciation for the pursuit to justice, for supporting Shaun Dinnah, his father, and other victims. Next week, we have arranged to speak to Dr. Leo Leonard Edward, who's a Grenadian national, a Grenadian by birth. He now lives in Canada. He is going to speak about the mental implications that one may face or a family member would face as a result of police brutality. Remember to join us every Monday at 6 p.m. as we highlight the inefficiencies of the Royal Grenada Police Force, hoping that by highlighting it, we can encourage victims to come forward and stop suffering on their own and actually try to get some justice. I will personally assist you in going to the relevant offices. Of course, we will document all of these visits and emails to the relevant offices. Unfortunately, we do not have of police that appreciates his duty, nor do we have a head of the community relations department who appreciates his duty. We are going to document everything and we are going to get it to the relevant persons. We will go as far as we need to ensure that Grenadians are treated like human beings in our own country. Ingram, any final words?
First of all, I'd like to thank Shaun once again for being on the show. It takes tremendous character to be on the show and to make the comments that you've made, Shaun. I think it's very brave of you to have done so. I would like to ask you for a message of encouragement for those who have suffered from police brutality in Grenada or incidents in Grenada of unjust behaviour via the Royal Police Force. Could you give people like their victims a message of hope as you've come forward and showed bravery to do so? I'd love if you could do that before you disappear.
Oh yes, Ingram. My message of hope to them is I've been fighting my struggles from since 2013 to now. And there is nothing in this world that could stop me from doing just that. What I want to tell you guys is there is nothing that will be able to stop you when you put your mind towards doing something. Right? I put my mind towards getting justice for my father, and I would seek justice for anybody else. So don't lose hope. Just go to the people that would help you. Go to the right institutions to seek help. Just like I did, don't go about taking the law into your hands. At some point in time, we do get on the wrong side, but the best thing is take your course of action the right way.
Really appreciate that, Shaun. Thank you so much. Now I want to talk about something else. I'm just going to put the link in the description box. That should come up there. Right, bring that up there for you. Right. That fund is, we've got a GoFundMe assisting victims of police brutality right there. Earl, can you give people that are watching this that would like to help support assisting people, victims of police brutality, where this funding would go?
All right, so the GoFundMe that has been started there for victims of police brutality, it would go to lawyers that, we obviously would have to go back to the courts, and this is where it would go. It would go to the family members to provide therapy. It's all in the link there: legal assistance, representation, whatever it is that would deem necessary to ensure justice for these victims, especially as it relates to legal representation in the courthouses. We do have a lawyer selected already who right now represents Mr. Curtis Thomas and Mr. Shaun Dinnah. That lawyer is right now in the process, even assisting a gentleman who is a refugee, an asylum seeker in Grenada, who has been incarcerated for almost the last year with no conviction. He was just sent to Her Majesty's prison. So we are going to use that lawyer. So whatever we can gather from the GoFundMe, we would use it to hand over to that lawyer for all her genuine and humane actions in seeking and pursuing justice for victims.
I think that's about it, right, Earl?
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, once again, thank you for being here. Ingram, I know it's what, 12 midnight now? It's after midnight.
Don't worry about it. Anything I can do.
So we appreciate you having us here on the program. As Grenadians, you are in England. It's after midnight. I know you're probably tired. We really appreciate it. Shaun. Ingram, I think you're muted.
I said, I am tired of hearing of abuse and people in position of power abusing position of power and not being brought together. That's what I'm fed up and tired of hearing. But I'm never going to grow tired of hearing my brothers and sisters speak their truth. This is what this platform is for, to speak their truth, to see what they've got to say, and to be clear, and to know that they're not going to get hounded because they speak their truth here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ingram. We appreciate it. Right, on behalf of all the victims in Grenada, we appreciate it, and we want to encourage victims of police brutality to come forward. Maybe then the DPP will take us seriously, Grenadian citizens who have rights. Right, so once again, thank you, my good friend Raphael Paul. It's good to have you here. It is good to have you here, my friend. Right. Okay. So next week we have Dr. Leo Leonard Edwards, who will be here speaking about the mental implications of police brutality. It does not only have a physical effect, it also has one mentally, and hence the reason I asked Shaun, how does he feel? We do not encourage persons to retaliate against police officers. We do not encourage any sort of violence, but we do encourage persons to stand for their rights and to protect their loved ones, do what needs to be done. You know, we have seen what has happened to George Floyd in America. Maybe if someone had stepped in, Mr. Floyd would have been alive today. So, right, take care, God bless. See y'all next week.